My name is Cecilia Davis, and I work for Harris County Community Supervision as a Community Supervision Officer. I supervise clients that have been placed on probation for sex offenses, as well as diagnosed with a mental health illness such as schizophrenia, major depression, or bipolar disorder. This is my IRead assignment for Go Set a Watchman. Um, Go Set a Watchman was written by Harper Lee. Her given name was Nellie Harper Lee. She was born in Monroeville, Alabama in April of 1926. She recently passed away in February of 2016, only a year after Go Set a Watchman's release. She was one of 5 children born to Amos Lee and Frances Cunningham. Her father was an attorney and a politician who worked in the state legislature. Her mother was a homemaker who was presumed to have a mental health illness, but it was never diagnosed or confirmed. She attended the Huntington's College for Women until she transferred to the University of Alabama. Her junior year at the university, she was accepted into law school, so she transferred to law school. She only completed a year of law school before dropping out and following her passion of writing. She never obtained her bachelor's degree or her JD, but that did not limit her success. In 1960, she published her first book, To Kill a Mockingbird. Through my research, I found that To Kill a Mockingbird was not the first manuscript that she submitted for publication. Go Set a Watchman was, but it was rejected because it was seen as too controversial for the times. So she rewrote it, and we got To Kill a Mockingbird, which portrayed the characters in their adolescence, which I think gave it more of an innocence, which made the book more acceptable during the times. Now, the sequel to Go Set a Watchman was published in 2015, and in this book, I see what they were meaning. I see what happened. But To Kill a Mockingbird won her a Pulitzer in 1961. She was placed on the National Council of Arts in 1966 by President Johnson. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2007 by President Bush, as well as the Medal of Arts, National Medal of Arts by President Obama in 2010. She achieved much success prior to the release of Go Set a Watchman, which is astounding, seeing as To Kill a Mockingbird and Go Set a Watchman are the only 2 books she published. Go Set a Watchman was written in the setting of the 1950s, in which African Americans were fighting for their civil rights. You had Brown v. Board of Education, you had the Civil Rights Acts, you had the bus boycotts, you had so much racial tension going on in this time. And I think that was evident in the book when Atticus he mentions the NAACP and how their attorneys are coming down and looking for any case to take to the Supreme Court to fight for the rights that I think we should have been given in the beginning. But Atticus did not. He mentioned, he questioned Scout on asking her if she thought schools should be dumbed down so coloreds could attend, making it seem as if coloreds didn't have the same understanding as white children, or making it seem that they were dumber or slower or unable to be taught in that time. So to tie it in with the course, I chose the Hardeman White Identity Development Model, which had 3 stages: naive, acceptance, and challenge. I took it from the standpoint of Scout. When Scout arrived home, she was naive and unaware of all the tension and the significance of what was going on with the NAACP, with the coloreds, with inequality, with everything. She was naive to the basic surroundings around her, or the basic times. She became conscious when she attended the Citizens Council meeting and saw that her father agreed with some of the ideas of one of the biggest bigots in her town. And that just threw her for a whirlwind, but it also allowed her to transform. She became, which is the second step, aware of equality, not so much of her thoughts, but what everybody else thought. She saw that her father, the townspeople, her boyfriend, her family agreed with the injustice that was being done. They agreed with inequality. She was conscious and aware that equality seemed to be the right thing, but nobody else was. So, so she was aware. She was aware of equal opportunity, but nobody agreed with her, for better lack of words, which allowed her to transition to challenge. She challenged her father because her father was the one who taught her these beliefs and instilled this in her, but he didn't believe it himself, which is what her biggest problem was. If you wanted her to be a bigot, raise her in that manner. But you raised her to see that all men were equal no matter the color. So she didn't understand that. So she went from being naive to not understanding what was going on or how it would affect her time to aware and of her everybody else's consciousness to the race and inequality. Although she thought equality was better, but she became aware until she transitioned to challenge, which she challenged her father and how he raised her and his belief system. Secondly, I would like to go to social justice, which had 4 principles I thought I could apply. First was a false attribute of the problem. Atticus and the Citizens Council thought that coloreds were the problem. They called them lazy, they called them uneducated, worthless, as if they hadn't worked just as hard for the same liberties but been denied those liberties. If they were more self-aware, they would have realized that the coloreds weren't the problem. Their belief systems were. Second principle was an individual joining an organization with the same principles, which I thought was Henry and Atticus joining the Citizens Council, who they may not have believed everything, but they had the same purpose, which was denouncing integration. The third one was reflection on a monocultural value. Scout realized that her family and her friends in her town, the people that she thought she knew, were bigots, and they agreed that on this immoral racism that she just did not understand at all. And lastly, the organization's resist of change. The Citizens Council was put together to denounce integration, which was what the federal courts were mandating with Brown v. Board of Education. So that was the second one. The third concept that I'm going to try to implement is Finkel and Brunswick. They did a study in which they studied 1,500 children and their parents and asked them questions. And they concluded that children who were more prejudiced they had an authoritative superiority complex, but that was only because of their insecurities. Scout didn't have this. She didn't think she was better than anybody. She didn't think that anybody was better than her. She believed that all were equal, which goes against the study, of course, because she was raised in a unprejudiced home, but her father was prejudiced. But she exemplifies what the study concluded, though, that unbiased children had a more loving and affectionate side, whereas prejudiced children had the complex because of their own insecurities. How can I adhere this to my future principles? I think I just need to be aware that everybody has a bias and I can't change their bias. Also, change is inevitable. Things are going to come, things are going to go. I can't not change with the times. So instead of resisting things, learn more about them and try to implement them. As well as in treatment, I am going to encounter people that have different morals, beliefs, standards than I do. My challenge is to provide them effective treatment without allowing them to outrage me.